Recently, Speaker Mike Johnson publicly promised that the Republican controlled House of Representatives would responsibly govern. But not only do most Americans not believe it, neither does one of the most prominent and influential Republicans in Congress, and she's letting the whole world know. But before we unpack all that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. All right, folks, this is going to be a fun video. We have several clips to play. This is yet another video in the continuing trend of the fact that the Republican Party is in disarray. They are an authoritarian, disloyal cult of personality with no limiting principle and no talent for responsible governance, despite what they may say. Here we are, a matter of weeks away from a government shutdown. Remember that continuing resolution which was passed under Kevin McCarthy, his last real act as Speaker of the House? It kicked the can down the road for 45 days. Well, those 45 days are about to expire, and if the Republican Party can't, briefly suppress its own radical nature to work with House Democrats and Senate Republicans and the president to keep the government funded, we're in for a world of hurt. But in general, they have promised that they would responsibly govern. This is Mike Johnson, Byron Donalds, and Mike Lawler promising just that.
Security for the American people. They want to hear the hopeful message, and we're providing that. We stand what's great about America, and we're optimistic about the future.
Can you, on these 90, 10, 80, 20, 70, 30 issues, can you look in the camera and assure every conservative and Republican in the country that main agenda can get done and will get done?
That is going to be our agenda, and we're going to deliver for the people and govern well. And I think that we'll be able to grow our majority when we do that.
We're going to deliver for the people and govern well. That's what he says, govern well. Well, there are people who disagree with him about whether or not that the Republican Party is governing well. And it's not just Democrats. Take a look.
Republican voters across the country are sick and tired of Republicans because they never do anything to hold this government accountable. Republicans go out on the campaign trail and go on TV and do their 5-minute hearing videos and post up on social media and say all this garbage about how they're going to fight it and stop it. I feel like many of the American people that think that Republicans in Congress completely fail them. I feel the same way, and I'm a Republican member of Congress.
So that was Marjorie Taylor Greene herself, okay, one of the most prominent MAGA Republicans who's basically undercutting what Mike Johnson, the Speaker, is saying. Mike Johnson says, listen, we have a conservative agenda, we're going to deliver on it, and we're going to govern well. Now, I would argue those two, points exist in complete contradiction to one another. This country cannot be governed well under a conservative agenda, but he's failing clearly to deliver both. And that was her saying it today, but she's also said it even as recently as last week.
And I want to tell you and remind everyone why conservative Americans across the country are absolutely disgusted with Republicans in Congress. And they are constantly disappointed and constantly upset that Republicans in Congress never hold the line. They never fight back. They never hold anyone accountable. They never actually do what they promise on the campaign trail. They never do what they promise their constituents. They come here to Washington and all of a sudden they lose their courage and they don't follow through and do the right thing.
Now again, what Marjorie Taylor Greene thinks is the right thing is radically out of step with the vast majority of America. But again, that's why I'm saying, obviously from a sane perspective, the Republican Party is failing to deliver. But even as far as Marjorie Taylor Greene and the subset that she represents, the deranged MAGA cult, even they seem to be disappointed by Mike Johnson, who, in various ways, as we've discussed in previous videos, is a wildly deranged speaker himself. She also ranted about it on Twitter. Congress is so broken, we can't even have a normal schedule. We didn't work on Monday or Tuesday, but we're going to be voting from 11:30 p.m. to 1 a.m. and then doing amendment debates after votes in the middle of the night instead of going home at a fairly normal time, then coming back to work at 8 a.m. on Friday like normal people. On Friday, we don't show up for votes until 11:45 a.m. And our calendar schedule, no matter which party's in charge, has us home all of August and half of September, but we're supposed to somehow pass a budget by September 30th every year. No normal successful company in the United States operates like a failed bodies of Congress, and everyone wonders why we're $30 trillion in debt and our country is falling apart on every single level. I mean, she's clearly fed up. And the funny thing is, she talks about, she and Mike Johnson talk about conservative voters, right? Again, who represent a minority of the country. But the American people as a whole, are incredibly disgusted with the Republican-led Congress. So this is from Navigator Research. GOP infighting, their focus on the wrong priorities, and their dysfunction are most concerning on the speaker fight. 7 out of 10 Americans believe that the GOP is dysfunctional, that their priorities are not right, that they're more interested in petty grievances and partisan politics than actually delivering results for the American people. And that's consistent with polling that we've discussed throughout the past year. This isn't good, right? The 2024 presidential election, as we've discussed in a previous video, as of right now, that is incredibly competitive. It's too close for comfort, and we have to work very diligently to get President Biden reelected. Or if for whatever reason President Biden drops out, just Democrats in general. We have to get Democrats in power or let them keep the power that they have. But when it comes to the House of Representatives, I don't want to jinx us, right? Because anything can change between now and then, but it's really not looking good. The congressional map for 2024 is not looking good for the Republican Party, even with the disgusting gerrymandering going on in North Carolina, which we recently discussed as well. Anointing Mike Johnson to be Speaker of the House after failing repeatedly with Jim Jordan, after the embarrassment that was Kevin McCarthy, on top of their inability to work with the president or Democrats or even Senate Republicans, it's not looking good for their prospects of keeping the House of Representatives. Based on the current trajectory, the current trends, they are probabilistically going to lose the House of Representatives in 2024. And to the extent that the remarks of Marjorie Taylor Greene can be used, you and I have to use them. Any opportunity we get to say, guys, even MAGA Republicans are disgusted with the way MAGA Republicans govern. And if that's not a selling sales pitch, I don't know what is. You let me know what you think in the comments.